Hi everyone, welcome to week 8, day 4. Oh my goodness, 2 days left. This is so exciting. So today's posture of the day is splits pose, so one we've hopefully been working our way up to. So feel free to grab a couple blocks, and if you have a pair of socks, that would be great for today's practice, and then also a strap if you can. And we're going to get started just in a reclined butterfly today. So if you want, you can grab your blocks and then put the soles of your feet together and then lie back onto your mat. You don't necessarily have to use blocks, but if it's more comfortable for you to splay your legs open like this with the blocks supporting your thighs, feel free to do so. I like that little extra support. And then you can rest your hands either on your inner thighs, on the mat, or on your stomach or chest to connect with your breath as we begin our practice today. Feel free to close your eyes and take a few long, slow, deep inhales in, and then exhale them out. I would just like to remind you to have patience with your body today, and especially in today's practice. Splits is not an easy posture, and it's one that takes some people months to even years to accomplish. And some days you'll get closer than others, depending on how tight your muscles are. So just be kind with your body and only think kind words to yourself. All right, you can remove your blocks at this time if you want, and allow your knees to just open wider, sink a little deeper and closer to the mat. And every exhale, allow them to relax just a little bit more if you can. You're welcome to keep using the blocks if that's still more comfortable for you. You can always move them out so your legs can open just a little bit wider while still being supported. We're just turning our attention to our breath. The rise and flow of the abdomen. And now you can use your hands to slowly bring your knees together and then bring them to your chest. You can extend your right leg at this time towards the ceiling while keeping your left leg tucked in towards your chest, and just slowly move it up and then back down, flexing those toes towards your shins at the top to really activate that hamstring. And we're just nerve flossing the back of our legs. So we have connective tissue that runs from our heel all the way up the back body to the top of our head. And so when we do this dynamic movement with the leg, we're really opening up and stretching that connective tissue in what we call nerve flossing. So you can switch now and do it with your left leg. So bring it up, straighten it at the top, and flex those toes before bringing it back down. Just easy movements. Remembering to breathe. Down, up, flex, and back down. Just going at your own pace, whatever's comfortable for you. If you would like, you can grab your strap at this time and kind of loop it around your right foot, more towards the toes than the arch, and then kind of just pull it, bringing it overhead. So keeping that knee nice and straight. We're trying to really open up and lengthen those hamstrings. So if you can touch your toes, that's great. Otherwise, you can use your hands to kind of walk them up the strap towards your foot, and then just hold it there. Again, keep making sure that knee is nice and straight. We're just trying to get a deep stretch here. Remember to breathe. And we can just hold it. Maybe sinking it a little closer if you want. Now maybe let's zigzag our strap along the arch of our foot. So along the sole of our foot, just back and forth, pull it. We're basically giving it a nice massage. And this is what opens up that connective tissue. And so I think we've done this in another class before where we're massaging that connective tissue, and that kind of opens up our hamstrings even more, allows them to release. So we're just sawing gently back and forth with our strap. It kind of feels good. It's a nice little foot massage. Just gentle at your own pace. Noticing how your leg is feeling at all. And then you can release that foot and hook it around the sole of your left foot now, again towards the toes for this stretch. And then just hold it, straightening out that knee again, pulling it towards you, seeing how far you can pull it forward without bending that knee or causing you any type of strain. Again, you can walk your hands in if you'd like, or you can gently hold. The key is to just get that nice lengthening through that hamstring. Now let's start that sawing motion. Zig, 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 zig. So open up, keeping that foot flexed if you can, just giving it a nice little massage with that strap. Keep going at whatever pace works for you. It can be fast, it can be slow. As long as we're awakening that connective tissue and releasing that hamstring. Good job. All right, and let's release that foot now. You can put your strap over to the side. And then we're going to be coming up into a tabletop posture. So let's come up, bring our wrists under our shoulders, our knees under our hips. And we're going to do some gentle cat-cows. So let's drop our chest as we inhale, and then exhale as we puff through the back of the back, tucking our chin towards our chest. Deep inhale into cow, exhale into cat pose, puffing. Inhale. Exhale. See how far you can puff that back to the sky. Deep inhale, exhale. And let's return to neutral pose. Let's tuck those toes under now. And let's see if we can just hover our knees off the mat. So you see how I'm hovering them? So our core is super engaged here. Pelvis slightly tucked. Now we're going to bring our left knee and tuck it towards our chest before inhaling it back up into three-legged dog. So as we come into mountain climber, we're dropping that right knee towards the mat, but we're not letting it land on the mat. We're still hovering it, and that's what adds to the challenge of this practice. So let's hold at the top, bend that left knee now, and let's tent those left fingertips and just open up that hip and just breathe through this posture. Good. Maybe you drop that left foot to the mat and open up left arm overhead into wild thing pose, pushing the chest and pelvis towards the sky. And maybe let's release that leg now towards the front of the mat if you can. Dropping that left leg forward and rising up into crescent lunge. Nice strong front leg here. Sink a little deeper if you can. Arms overhead. And we're going to do a hip flexor stretch now. So inhale that right arm up and over as you tuck your tailbone down and you bring your left arm towards your inner thigh. So we're inhaling our right arm over to the left and kind of opening up our chest more towards the right side. And you should feel this in your right hip flexor. So that right hip. Make sure you're tucking that tailbone. That's the key to getting this good stretch. And now let's kind of come up, extend that left leg out in front, and hinge at the waist. So bringing our torso kind of almost parallel to the mat, peeling those front toes off the mat, and seeing if you can get a nice stretch through that left hamstring. So bending, generous bend in that right knee. And we're just pushing our butt back like we're trying to sit in a chair. Lower those toes and then peel them off the mat again. See if you can get that nice hamstring stretch. Sink your butt closer to the mat as you peel those toes off and sink back down. And then fold forward into that left leg. Inhale, halfway lift. And exhale, forward fold. Allowing yourself to release into that hamstring. And now let's bring that right leg out a little wider, more towards the back of the mat, and sink into that nice runner's lunge here. Pushing that pelvis. You can do some light pelvic pulses. Just kind of awakening those hips. Just light, gentle pulses up and down with your pelvis. Maybe rock back and forth on your toes. Let's send that booty back towards the right foot. Bring that right foot up and grab it with our left hand and then sink forward once again. Holding the stretch. Trying to keep your weight in your left foot and not in your right arm. And we're just breathing, feeling that through the hips, through that hip flexor. Good. And slowly releasing that foot down to the mat, bringing both our hands on the mat. And let's drop to our forearms now. If we can, trying to keep that left knee tucked towards our shoulder if we can. Feel free to grab a block if this is too deep of a stretch for you. You can set your forearms on that block if you'd like. But try to prevent your knee from splaying outward. You want to keep that tucked towards the body. Let's take 2 deep breaths here. And then when you're ready, you can kind of rise back up and straighten out that left leg. And then peel those toes off the mat. And get that nice hamstring stretch again. So sending your booty towards your right foot. Really feel that nice stretch. This is what we call a half split. Keeping our spine long. We're just kind of sinking into that hamstring. And then let's bring it forward once again into that low lunge. You can lift that back knee up and drop your right hip to the mat, coming to rest on the mat. You can reposition your left leg in front of you if you can, and then just extend your left arm out along the right leg. And then let's bring that left arm to the mat again as you bring yourself back up, lifting up onto that left foot, and then dropping that booty down towards the left heel as we come into a low lateral lunge. You can bring your palms in prayer at heart center, or you can keep them rested on the mat. Whatever is most comfortable for you. Trying to drop that left heel, but if you have limited mobility, you can also stay on your toes. Then let's lift up, walking our hands over to the right foot, and then sending that right foot back and coming to rest in downward facing dog. Only for a moment. And then drop our knees to the mat into our tabletop posture. So tuck those toes under, and let's push the mat away as we bring our knees to hover over the mat. We're going to do those mountain climber 3-legged dogs again. So bring that right knee towards the chest and inhale it up to 3-legged dog. As you do the mountain climber, bring your left knee to hover on the mat hover above the mat without dropping onto the mat. And then inhale up, exhale down. Inhale up. Hold here in 3-legged dog. Bend that knee so you're dropping that heel towards the booty. Tent those right fingertips, opening up to the right side. You can hold here if you'd like, or if you want to try for that wild thing once again, you can slowly bring that right arm up overhead and then drop that right leg behind the body into wild thing pose. pushing the chest and your pelvis towards the ceiling, and then return your hand to the mat, bringing that leg out to rest in between your hands, and then rising up into crescent lunge now on the other side. Inhaling those arms overhead, getting ready for that hip flexor stretch. Let's drop that right arm now to the inner right thigh as we extend that left arm overhead towards the right side. Feeling that stretch now through the left hip flexor. We're tucking that tailbone again and stretching that left arm up. Then we bring it back down, come to neutral, and then inhale it back up overhead again. Over to the right side. And back down. And once again, rise up, stretching over to the right. Feel it through that left hip flexor. And return now. Hopping that left foot in, a little generous bend in that left leg as we extend the right leg. Let's peel those toes off the mat as we send our sit bones back towards the front of the mat. And we're hinging at the waist, getting that nice hamstring stretch. Drop those toes to the mat and then peel them off as you send your sit bones back. Release and do it again. Peel and drop. Maybe you drop a little lower. Pelvis tucked in a posterior tilt a little bit. I should say anterior tilt. And drop. And then maybe we fold into that leg now. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold into that right leg. Leg strong here. Good job. Let's send that left leg back now and come into that nice runner's lunge. Again, you can do those pelvic pulses, lightly pulsing, opening up those hips. Pulse, pulse, pulse. Hopping, keeping that right knee tucked towards your shoulder if you can, maybe rocking back and forth now on those back toes and pulsing again. Really trying to open up those hips for the splits. Good job. Rocking back and forth. And then let's send our sit bones now, dropping that back knee and grabbing that left foot with our right arm. And then let's sink forward into this nice lunge again. Keeping the weight in our right leg and just a little bit in our left wrist, but not too much. Mostly supporting ourselves with our leg. Feel that nice stretch through the hip flexors. Remember to breathe and just hold it here. Good job, guys. You're doing fantastic. Hold. Think happy thoughts. And slowly release, dropping both hands to the mat, extending that right leg now, and sinking forward, keeping those toes on the mat. Now let's peel those toes off the mat. Kind of walking our hands in just a bit to keep that spine nice and long. And just stretching through the hamstring. And then drop those toes to the mat and then peel them off again as you send your sit bones back. Good. Can grab your block at this time if you'd like as we come onto our forearms, lifting that back knee off of the mat again. Keeping that right knee tucked towards our torso and just holding and breathing here. You can release your block at this time. And let's drop that left hip towards the mat as we bring our right arm up along the left leg. Dropping our booty to the mat. And we can release our hands back to the mat now as we bring our hips up, this time dropping our booty over to the left or to the right heel and coming into that low lateral lunge, palms in prayer. Or once again, you can also keep them on the mat if that works for you. Opening up to the left side. And let's drop back down now. Come into a seated posture on the mat. This time, if you have your socks, feel free to put them on. It's best to do this exercise on a hard floor such as tile or hardwood. If you don't have that, you can use what they call exercise gliders or really shiny, thin, like books that you can put your feet on that would help you glide along carpet. Anything that would allow you to, glide a little easier. Otherwise, if you are on carpet, you might not even need socks. You can just use your bare feet. And we're going to place the blocks in second position along our left leg. Right knee dropped in the back, and we're gonna just see if we can glide our left leg forward, gently extending that knee, supporting ourselves with our arms on our blocks. See if you can sink a little bit closer. If you can take one of your blocks and place it under your leg or your groin area to support yourself and just breathe through this posture. And if this is all you can do today, that's completely all right. This is one way to help support you. Otherwise, you can remove that block and come back up. And you can take breaks as you do this, kind of working your way down. Feel free to grab like a towel or a blanket. That would also work. You can place it under your groin, or I like to put it under my back knee because that gets a little bit hard for my knees. So if you have that same problem, you can do that too. And then you can also just hinge back and forth and see if you can lower down. And see, this is all I can do today because my hamstrings are really tight from running. So I apologize, I can't even get into the full splits for you guys. But yeah, so you just do what you're able to. You can come back up into that low lunge to rest yourself. And then a nice hamstring stretch again. And then into that low lunge, and then extend that knee. See if you can get a little bit lower this time, still supporting yourself with your arms. And like I said, I can't do the full splits today. I am just, my hamstrings are incredibly tight right now from running. So, but if this is all you can do, that's okay. So I hope me not being able to get it helps you feel better. Some days I can, other days I can't. But let's sink back into child's pose now and just rest a moment, allowing those legs and those hips to relax before we try this on the other side. And you just, go back and forth, trying it, sinking your way down a little bit more. So now let's bring that right leg forward if we can, gently extending that knee. Once again, using those blocks to help us sink into this posture. So pushing the mat away or the ground away with your hands and those blocks, and just slowly releasing as you are able to, as what feels good. And then you can bring yourself back up, come into a nice hamstring stretch once again. Straightening out that front leg, sending those hips back, and then sinking into that low lunge. Once again, straightening out that right knee. Maybe sinking a little bit lower this time. Trying to keep your hips square to the front of the mat if you can. Only do what you're capable of and comfortable with. And if you practice this every day, you'll get so close. I promise you, you'll get a little bit closer each day. So now we can remove our blocks. I hope you were able to get a little bit closer than maybe you have in the past. The key is to really open up your hips. And then let's just sink, rolling back onto our backs and tucking our knees in towards our chest. Just do a nice gentle spinal rock here. Allowing your body to unwind. Maybe dropping those feet towards the mat now. Knees still up in the air. We're going to bring our arms beside us and lift our pelvis up into bridge pose. Slowly lower down. Deep inhale, rise up, pushing that pelvis towards the ceiling. And pushing the mat away with our arms and slowly lower down. Deep inhale, squeezing those quads together. Exhale, lower down. Inhale, squeeze those thighs and those quads. Bring those knees together. Exhale, lower. Inhale, rise up into bridge. And exhale, lower down. Let's rise up onto our hands now. Inhale, maybe walk our hands out a bit. Inhale, rise up into this reverse tabletop posture. Pulling that belly button towards the ceiling. Maybe you extend those legs now, trying to peel our toes onto the mat into this reverse plank, pushing our chest and our pelvis forward towards the ceiling, neck and spine neutral. Hold here and release back down. We're just stretching the front body. And let's sink into a nice forward fold now. Maybe you grasp your ankles, maybe you grasp your outside of your knees, or maybe you can reach your toes. Inhale nice and long, and then exhale, sink forward into this nice forward fold. Allow yourself to just release. And slowly rise back up, bringing that right foot over to the outside of the left knee, inhaling that left arm up and out to the right side, and then opening up to the right side. Nice gentle spinal stretch. Gazing over the right shoulder. And let's release back down now, lifting up that left leg, bringing it over to the right side, over to the outer side of the right knee, and twisting over to the left side now, dropping that right elbow on the outside of the knee. Gaze over your left shoulder. Good. And slowly release. Preparing to roll back down, using your knees to kind of help guide you onto your back once again. In a nice knee to chest pose. Maybe doing a spinal rock again. And let's come into a dead bug. So release your legs. You can have a nice generous bend in your knee. Bring your arms up towards the ceiling and your feet up towards the ceiling. And just roll out your ankles, roll out your wrists. And just let any tension fall out of the body. You can give them a nice little shake if you want. Imagine that tension just releasing out of your body as you roll and shake out your wrists and ankles. Maybe you flip your grip. Some nice rocking back and forth, whatever feels good for you. And then grab the outer edge of your feet and pull those knees in towards your armpits into happy baby pose. Rock back and forth onto that spine. Allowing any tension to release out of the body. Allowing any thoughts to release out of the body. And let's release our legs and our arms to the mat now as we come into Shavasana. So let everything hang heavy. And return your thoughts to your breath. Maybe do a quick scan of your muscles, of your feet, of your calves, of your hips, your lower back and shoulders or neck. If you feel any tension, maybe tighten those muscles, and then on your exhale, release, allowing yourself to sink deeper, heavier into the mat. And then return to your breath.